Hello Internet, it's Andrew Potter back again with another reading session of Life of Pi by Jan Martel. Today we will be reading chapters 13 and 14, I think? Yes. Sorry, this bookmark is very confusing and I can never tell which way it's actually looking. But, yes, I remember that I did read the italics chapter last, so that would make it on chapter 13, sorry about that. A little housekeeping first, actually. So I've noticed that two of my My Immortal series videos were cut in the middle kind of thing, and then a 10-second delay, and then a second video would start up. That was because I had a small 8 gig SD card. I've now upgraded to a 64 or 32? 64, I think, gig memory card. So hopefully that should erase that problem, as now I could take up to 8-hour-long videos. So the next thing I'll need to upgrade is my battery pack, because my battery pack is only like 2 hours, I think, long at most. So, but we will be working on that, and I'm hoping that we should have no more problems with that, because I can't see myself taking more than an 8-hour-long video for reading a couple of chapters of a book. So yeah, today I did look ahead, and chapters 13 and 14 are rather small, so I will be doing 2 of those together. So let's get into it. Chapter 13. So you see, if you fall into a lion's pit, the reason the lion will tear you to pieces is not because it's hungry, be assured. Zoo animals are amply fed, or because it's bloodthirsty, but because you've invaded its territory. As an aside, that is why a circus trainer must always enter the lion ring first, and in full sight of the lions. In doing so, he establishes that the ring is his territory, not theirs, a notion that he reinforces by shouting, by stomping about, by snapping his whip. The lions are impressed. Their disadvantage weighs heavily on them. Notice how they come in, mighty predators though they are, king of beasts. They crawl in with their tails low, and they keep to the edges of the ring, which is always round, so that they have nowhere to hide. They are in the presence of a strongly dominant male, a super alpha male, and they must submit to his dominance rituals. So they open their jaws wide, they sit up, they jump through their paper-covered hoops, they crawl through tubes, they walk backwards, they roll over. He's a queer one, they think dimly, never seen a top lion like him, but he runs a good pride. The larder's always full, and let's be honest, mates, his antics keep us busy. Napping all the time does get a bit boring. At least we're not riding bicycles like the brown bears, or catching flying plates like the chimps. Only the trainer better make sure that he always remains super alpha. He may pay dearly if he unwittingly slips to beta. Much hostile and aggressive behavior among animals is the expression of social insecurities. The animal in front of you must know where it stands, whether above you or below you. Social rank is central to how it leads its life. Rank determines who it can associate with and how, where and when it can eat, where it can rest, where it can drink, and so on. Until it knows its rank for certain, the animal lives a life of unbearable anarchy. It remains nervous, jumpy, dangerous. Luckily for the circus trainer, decisions about social rank among higher animals are not always based on brute force. Hediger, 1950, says, "When two creatures meet, the one that is able to intimidate its opponent is recognized as socially superior, so that a social decision does not always depend on a fight. An encounter in some circumstances may be enough." Words of a wise animal man. Mr. Hediger was for many years a zoo director, first of the Basel Zoo and then of the Zurich Zoo. He was a man well versed in the ways of animals. Just want to bring this up. Recently I've seen a video by College Humor, I don't know if you know them, called, the series of videos are called Adam Ruins Everything, and it's basically this one guy named Adam who goes through and talks about different social things that we do, social rituals, I guess, different things. He talks about the TSA, he talks about circumcisions, he talks about all those things, and he debunks why we do them, and he talks about how we don't need to do them anymore and they're dumb kind of thing. Recently he did one on the alpha male and why alpha males in the human race don't actually exist anymore. And it's basically that because we have so many fields and assets of our lives, like banking, like Dungeons and Dragons games, football, all these sorts of things, there isn't a true alpha male in the human society. So like the idea of an alpha male, the big kind of guy, isn't really an alpha male. He's an alpha male in his domain, maybe, depending on who else in his, social group there is. But he's not, like, that type of man isn't the alpha male of all of life. For example, if you put him into a Dungeons and Dragons group, he's going to be the beta, because he's going to absolutely not know what he's doing, he's going to fumble, he's not going to know how to play, all that kind of stuff, so he becomes the beta of the group. And I just think that's it's an interesting video, and it kind of related to what we were talking about, so I thought I would just give that a little bump. So, if you're interested in that kind of stuff about debunking social rituals that we do that don't make any sense, check out Adam Ruins Everything. It's a question of brain over brawn. The nature of the circus trainer's ascendancy is psychological. Foreign surroundings, the trainer's erect posture, calm demeanor, steady gaze, fearless step forward, strange roar, for example, the snapping of a whip or the billowing of a whistle. These are so many factors that will fill the animal's mind with doubt and fear and make clear to it where it stands, the very thing it wants to know. Satisfied, number 2 will back down and number 1 can turn to the audience and shout, "Let the show go on! And now, ladies and gentlemen, through hoops of real fire!" Another interesting chapter, setting up his childhood and his knowledge of the zoo. This one sounds more of his zoology degree. Sounds like he's talking about his actual reasoning and his knowledge of animals and that sort of thing, and not just telling you that he's some guy who kind of studied it and kind of knows a little bit. Like, no, I know animals. This is why lions will attack you if you go into a zoo pit, and this is how you can avoid that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty interesting. Chapter 14. It is interesting to note that the lion that is the most amenable to the circus trainer's tricks is the one with the lowest social standing in the pride, the omega animal. It has the most to gain from a close relationship with the super alpha trainer. It is not only a matter of extra treats. A close relationship will also mean protection from the other members of the pride. It is this compliant animal to the public, no different from the others in size and apparently ferocity, that will be the star of the show, while the trainer leaves the beta and the gamma lions, more cantankerous subordinates, sitting on their colorful barrels on the edge of the ring. The same is true of the other circus animals and is also seen in zoos. Socially inferior animals are the ones that make the most strenuous, resourceful efforts to get to know their keepers. They prove to be the ones most faithful to them, most in need of their company, least likely to challenge them or be difficult. The phenomenon has been observed with big cats, bison, deer, wild sheep, monkeys, and many other animals. It is a fact commonly known in the trade. That makes sense. And you can kind of see it in a lot of human groups, actually, is that, a lot of nerds want to be cool. They want to hang out with those kids. You want to be with the popular crowd. You want to align yourself with who you feel is the strongest socially, physically, mentally, whatever. Because A, that could rub off on you, and B, you have that protection then. You have that idea of, this person will look out for me because I am close to them, kind of thing. Again, 2 chapters, interesting but not great. Not a lot of great, not a lot of great use of language, even though we've seen that earlier in the book. Not a lot of, interesting ideas or anything like. Interesting ideas in the way that it makes me question, makes me wonder, oh, yeah, that would be a thing, when he met the teacher who was an atheist, I was like, oh, right, what about that kind of, relationship, that kind of, how would you feel during your first non-religious moment as a religious person kind of thing. This is just kind of, here's interesting facts about animals, and that's great, that's cool, but it's not world breaking. It's not, whoa, let me stop and think about this for a second kind of thing. It's just there. It's just kind of, yeah, I guess it's neat. I guess that's cool. Yeah. That's it for this video. Again, as always, if you have any questions that you want me to answer, maybe there was something in there that you found world breaking that you wanted me to, take a second glance at, feel free to comment that below, and feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Alright, have a good night.